As we look ahead into summer, is Lafayette's housing market crashing or is it just cooling off? Well, if you've seen the headlines, you might think it's the former, but the numbers really do tell us a really interesting story. Today, I'll show you exactly where prices are falling, which neighborhoods are holding strong, and why buyer leverage is quietly returning for the first time in years. We'll also talk about what seller expectations, the inventory spikes, and what the experts will say will happen next. So whether you're buying or you're selling in 2025, understanding this shift could save you or even earn you thousands. So let's dive into the forecast. We're going to talk about point number one, which is the price trends, the real reality behind the headlines and everything that we're seeing in the news. So what's really happening in Lafayette with the home prices? It's not always the doom and gloom story that everyone continues to spread, but it really just depends on what data source that you're looking at. And we're really starting to see a modest 3% decline in prices that are essentially flat compared to last year. Now, some neighborhoods we're actually still seeing some slight increases, and this isn't a market crash. It's really a market stabilizing after years of unsustainable growth that we were constantly seeing. Now, what's particularly interesting is that while everybody's focusing on home prices, Lafayette's overall real estate health is actually growing quite strong. We just jumped 24 spots to actually rank as the 45th nationally for renters, which shows that we have a growing demand for housing in our area. Really good news. Now, our job growth is also outpacing most of the country at 2%, ranking 11th nationally. So when you combine that with the cost of living, that's still about 13% below the national average, you realize that Lafayette really remains an incredibly attractive place for people to live and also to invest. Now, the reality is that after years of 10 to 15% annual appreciation with the low interest rates and COVID, everything that was happening, a flat or a slightly declining market is actually what's healthy. We need to come back to this balanced state. It really gives incomes a time to catch up with home prices, and it really creates a more sustainable long-term growth. Now, smart buyers and sellers understand this isn't a crisis. It's an opportunity to make strategic moves in a more balanced market. But here's where things get really interesting for buyers. Now, the inventory situation has completely transformed from just a year ago. Now, let's talk about our talking point number two, which would be the inventory surge. More choices than we've seen in years. Now, if you've been waiting for more options as a buyer, your patience is probably about to pay off. We're really seeing a massive month-over-month surge in inventory that's completely changing the game. Now, if we just compare this to about a year ago, where buyers were really starting to fight over really decent listings, and now you might have 5 to 10 comparable homes to choose from in your target neighborhood. Now, this isn't just anecdotal. The data actually shows significant jumps in available homes across all price ranges. Even our rental markets have added 10% more units in the past year, yet we still maintain a 93.4% occupancy rate, the highest in Louisiana. Now, that tells you the demand is still strong, but supply is finally catching up. Now, for buyers, the inventory surge means that you actually take your time, you can compare options, you can negotiate with sellers. No more writing offers on homes where you've only seen the photos, there's no blind offers, no more having to waive inspections just to compete with competitive offer or multiple offers. But the power dynamic has shifted, and buyers who understand how to leverage this new inventory can really score some great deals where it would have been just impossible about 18 months ago. What's driving this? Well, a combination of factors. Some investors cashing out after just years of appreciation, some baby boomers are downsizing, and some people who are waiting for really the perfect time to sell are actually starting to pull the trigger. Now, the result is the best selection of homes that we've really seen since before the pandemic. But of course, more inventory alone doesn't really tell the whole story. What really matters is how long these homes are sitting on the market. So that moves us to talking point number three, which is days on market. The pace of sales has fundamentally changed. Remember when homes were selling in hours, not days, or literally one day on the market? Well, those days are officially gone in Lafayette. But we've watched average days on market climb from around 28 days to around 40 and 69 days, depending on the property type and the price point. Now, that might sound concerning if you're selling, but let me put this into perspective for you. Now, pre-pandemic, we had 60 to 90 days on market was completely normal for our area. What we experienced in 20 to 2023 was truly an anomaly. Homes were selling before the sign went in the yard. There were bidding wars on everything. Buyers were making decisions based on maybe FaceTime tours, and that wasn't really sustainable or healthy for anyone except maybe sellers who hit the timing perfectly where they got to cash in. We're seeing buyers actually schedule multiple showings. They They bring their parents and contractors for second opinions. They go through inspections and compare multiple properties before making offers. This is how real estate is supposed to work. The FOMO has evaporated and it's been replaced by thoughtful decision making. People can take their time. For sellers, this means that your pricing strategy is more critical than ever. Price it right from day one and you'll see the strong interest and reasonable offers. Price it like it's still in 2022 and you'll watch it sit with buyers scrolling right past it with more realistic options. Now, speaking of unrealistic pricing, this brings us to one of the biggest challenges in today's market. Let's talk about number 4, which is sellers living in 2022. Why some homes aren't moving. Now, here's the brutal truth. A significant portion of Lafayette sellers are still living in 2022, and it's truly starting to cost them dearly. They remember their neighbor's house selling for $50,000 over asking with 15 offers, and they really want the same experience. But when they price accordingly and refuse to negotiate, here was what happens. Buyers simply move on to the next listing. I'm seeing homes sit on the markets for months because sellers won't accept that the market has shifted. They do one small price reduction maybe after 60 days, then another one after 90 days, and meanwhile the house is getting stale and buyers are starting to wonder what's wrong with it. So by the time they finally get to the price where it's priced appropriately, it's been on the market so long that buyers really want an even deeper discount. Now, the sellers who are succeeding right now, well, those are the ones who have studied the recent comparable sales, not from last year, but the ones that have happened the most recent, even the past 30, 60, or 90 days, and they're pricing competitively from day one. And guess what? They're getting solid offers and sometimes even multiple offers if they have a really great home to show off, because their homes show value compared to the overpriced competition. If you're thinking of selling, here's my advice. Price it like you want it to sell, not like you want to negotiate for 6 months. The market has spoken and buyers have options. They will not play games when they know there are 10 other homes similar to yours that they can actually choose from. The shift in the seller expectations directly connects to our next major trend, which is the changing balance of power between buyers and sellers. So let's talk about 5, the power shift. Buyers finally have some leverage. So for the first time in years, Lafayette buyers actually have negotiating power, and the data is proving it. Right now, 62% of homes are selling under list price. Not massive discounts in most places, but we're talking about modest reductions where it's a complete reversal from when buyers were throwing money over asking just to get their offers noticed by a seller. What's fascinating is that they're not in a pure buyer's market yet. Some well-priced homes in desirable neighborhoods are still getting multiple offers and selling at or above slightly asking. But the days of waiving every contingency or writing a blank check, those days for most properties are truly over. Buyers are successfully negotiating again. Inspection issues that would have been ignored in 2022 are now resulting in price reductions or seller repairs. Appraisal contingencies are back, protecting buyers from overpaying. Closing cost assistance is on the table. Some buyers are even negotiating for sellers to buy down their interest rate. That's a great one. The psychology has completely shifted too. Buyers know that they have options, so they're being more selective. They're taking their time to think about offers instead of rushing to submit them within hours. This return to a more balanced market is healthy for everyone truly in the long term. So even if it feels uncomfortable for sellers, used to calling all the shots. But what does this all mean for your specific situation? Well, let's break down the practical implications. Talking point number 6, what this means for buyers and sellers in 2025. Let's get practical about what this market shifts for you. So if you're a buyer, this is your moment, right? For more inventory combined with your newfound ability to negotiate means that you can be selective and strategic. You can take your time touring homes, get through inspections, compare multiple options, negotiate not just on the price, but on the terms that matter to you. With sellers no longer getting multiple offers on day one, you have leverage you haven't seen in years. But here's the true key. You still need to be prepared. You need to get pre-approved, know your budget, and understand what you want. The best properties are priced right and are moving quickly. The difference is now you're competing with 2 to 3 other buyers instead of 10 to 15. For sellers, success requires a total strategy shift. First, accept that 2022 is over. Price based on today's market, not yesterday's dreams. Invest in staging professional photos with more competition. Presentation truly matters more than ever. Be ready to negotiate, respond quickly to your offers, and then consider offering buyer incentives like rate buy downs or closing cost assistance, which will truly help you stand out. Timing also matters. We're seeing traditional seasonal patterns start to return, with spring and early summer being the strongest for sellers. If you're planning to sell, getting ahead of more inventory hitting the market could be crucial for you. The bottom line that this is a functioning and healthy market where both buyers and sellers can achieve their goals. It just requires you adjusting your expectations and your strategy strategies to match what the current reality is rather than thinking about the past performance. Looking ahead, there are several key factors that will determine where Lafayette's market will go from here. Let's talk about number 7, what to watch for in the months ahead. As we look ahead at the rest of 2025, there are several key indicators which tell us whether the market correction continues or if we will find a new equilibrium. Well, first, watch inventory levels. If we continued month-over-month increases, that puts more pressure on sellers and gives buyers even more options. But if inventory stabilizes or starts declining, we could see the market balance quickly. Now, interest rates remain the wild card. Every quarter point more significantly impacts the buying power and market psychology. So if rates drop, you can see the demand and the surge really starting to return. And if they rise, it might cool things off further. The Federal Reserve's decision will ripple directly into our local market. Now, here's what gives the optimism about Lafayette specifically. Our economic fundamentals, they really are remaining strong. We're seeing that 2% job growth. We're ranking an 11th nationally. We are seeing a renter income that has surged to 34% over the past 5 years. And with 30% of the residents holding college degrees and major employers continuing to invest in our area, we really have the economic backbone to support a really healthy housing market that will continue to see growth. Now, my prediction, what we'll see is a stabilizing rather than a crash. Inventory will likely remain elevated all the way through spring, giving buyers continued opportunities, and then smart sellers who price their homes appropriately will still do well. Now, by late 2025, we might see the market start to finding its new normal, not the frenzy of the recent years, but a more sustainable pace of appreciation that aligns with income growth and the economic fundamentals. The key is to stay informed and ready to act when the opportunity does present itself, whether you're looking to buy or to sell. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Lafayette this year, I'd love to show you exactly how these market trends apply to your specific situation. Every neighborhood and price point is experiencing slightly different conditions, and having a data-driven strategy is crucial. Feel free to always call or text me for a no-obligation consultation. We want to discuss your real estate goals and get you exactly where you want to be. Now, if this breakdown got you thinking about where you want to live next, well, don't miss my next video where I compare Lafayette and Lake Charles side by side, where we're talking lifestyle, housing, the job market, the whole picture. Just click here and you'll see what city comes out on top.